Hello, everyone. Welcome to GitHub Africa. I am super excited to be here today because we're going to be talking about something that I love, which is money and getting maintainers paid for open source. So this is a perfect topic. Thank you so much for joining. I know we had shared that we were going to have Bolaji from OSCA here today, and he's really trying, but today we're having some really just bad infra network situation in Africa where the connectivity is not happening. So we're gonna give Bolaji some grace. He has sent me some updates and some things to share with you. So I will share those to the best of my ability. I'm obviously no Bolaji, but I'm really gonna try here. And then hopefully we'll see if the situation improves. Maybe he can join us. Otherwise, I think you're gonna be in the chat. If I'm not mistaken, Bolaji, you're gonna be around here. So we'll still get to interact with Bolaji and learn all about OSCA. And real quick, and I apologize for being a little bit late, I have to remove some spam from the top of our live stream. So please don't follow that account. I already reported it to LinkedIn and YouTube and all the places. So please don't spam us. We're here to learn and share from one another. So why are we here? We're here because we care about maintainers, we care about open source, and we want to learn how we can better empower and enable folks to do this full-time, part-time, but basically to get compensated for the amazing work that they're already doing. And I have no other than the bestie. Let me bring Jess. I feel like Jess, it's just me and Jess here hanging out. Jess is the PM for GitHub sponsors. Hello, Jess.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, I am just terrific. So happy to be here with you. Thank you for taking the time to join. So excited that we're going to learn a little bit about the program from you, who is obviously this, and then we're gonna touch on a couple of other things. We're gonna later on. Our very own Black Girl Bites is gonna come on and teach us how to create a super awesome profile, which is great. So now that you are able to use GitHub sponsors in your regions, make sure that you create a profile that pops and we get you paid. So that's fantastic. So Jay, first of all, Jess, where are you? And I'd love for everyone in the chat to tell us where they're joining from. I am in Florida. It's 1,000 degrees, y'all. Jess, where are you?
I'm in London, and it actually it's not 1,000 degrees, but it's pretty hot for London today.
I love it. Yeah, it's getting pretty toasty around the world. So, hey, folks, let me know in the chat where you're joining from. And thank you so much for joining us today and taking the time to learn about GitHub sponsors. Oh, we got folks from Australia, from Uganda. That's awesome. Thank you for being here. So, Jess, first of all, I need to know a little bit about you because I know that you were at GitHub and then you left and then you came back. And I know you came back for this. This is the reason, right? So would you mind just telling me a little bit about why? And then also, if you can just give us a quick overview of what the program is about for folks who maybe are not familiar.
Yeah, so I was an engineer at GitHub in the early days. I originally joined in 2013 and was at GitHub for about 3.5 years as an engineer. And I was really involved in open source and JavaScript and Node. And I eventually left GitHub, continued as an engineer other places, but really missed working directly with open source and with open source maintainers. And so when the opportunity came up to come back to GitHub to lead sponsors, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was such a perfect role for me. And so I rejoined GitHub about a year ago and am the product manager now. So not an engineer anymore, but a product manager leading GitHub sponsors. And so I joined a year ago for sponsors, and sponsors is now 3 years old. So it was about 2 years old when I joined. And it has been slowly growing. So, initially it launched just for individuals and individuals sponsoring other individuals. And then it's slowly been growing up to the point where we're at today, which is that we support 68 regions globally, which is massive. We just rolled out to 30 more regions in one go a few weeks ago. And sponsorships work across if you're a user or an org account. You can sign up for sponsors or sponsor someone who's an org account. And so we have wide support of the different uses on GitHub, but our goal is to enable careers in open source. And so, over the last many years, companies have given back to foundations. They sponsor conferences and things, but we still haven't solved open source sustainability. We still see issues come up like Log4j, where like the people working on the project aren't being paid for their work and it's critical infrastructure. And so with GitHub sponsors, we're trying to solve this missing piece of directly supporting maintainers and allowing people to determine what their career looks like. And so people who are on sponsors now, there's not one way to do it. Some people do live stream and office hours and things like that, but other people, still want to keep their day job, but still be compensated for the work they're doing on important libraries, like on the weekends and evenings. And all of that's valid. So we want, with GitHub sponsors, for people to be able to find, support in the way that they want support.
I love that. I think that's what makes it so special, that as a creator, a maintainer, collaborator, you're able to basically lay out what it is that you want to get out of it, and creating your profile in a bit, because that's a big part of it, right? Like if you're going to do layers for your different sponsorships. But I'm so happy thank you for joining us today. In case you missed it, one of the things that just announced not long ago, I think, what are we, like a week, maybe 2 weeks into, was the addition of how many more countries into the program?
30
new countries into the program. And that is fantastic. Specific to the Africa region, we added Egypt, Kenya, Morocco, South Africa, Tunisia, and Gambia. And so if you are in any of those regions and before you were not able to join GitHub sponsors, but you want to set up your profile, you should be able to now, right? I think all the waitlisted folks have been pushed through. So that is super exciting. And I believe this list is going to continue to grow as just continue the good work of making sure that this program is global and it expands to everyone. So that's amazing.
Want to be everywhere that GitHub can do business. So yeah, we still got more growing to do.
That's amazing. So thank you so much for sharing a bit about the program. Thank you for being here, of course. Just before I bring Reza, because I want to get into the, let's get our profiles going and start getting paid. That's cool. But I don't know, do you have any advice for any maintainers out there? Maybe someone is on the fence about whether or not they should create a GitHub sponsors profile.
Yeah.
Anything that you can leave us with?
Well, it doesn't cost anything to join. And I've definitely seen scenarios where, because we work a lot with companies that are, gathering lists of all of their dependencies, and they're finding that, they have a dependency that's not set up on GitHub sponsors. So we kind of have to track them down and, ask them to join. And so it's worth it to just be on the program so that you can be discovered, so that companies can start sponsoring you as soon as they go on to GitHub to do all of their dependency sponsoring.
Absolutely, folks. So don't fall asleep on that, because that library you maintain, some company out there is using it and they want to pay you. So make sure you get paid by creating your GitHub sponsors profile. And if you're here because you actually want to pay it back to some of the folks that have done great work that you are now actually using, I'm going to share a URL on the screen now. And this is, if you click on this while you're logged into GitHub, you'll be able to see all of your dependencies. So the developers that maintain your top dependencies are going to come in this list. So whatever your projects are on GitHub, it's going to tell you. And then if you want to support them, you can drop them a sponsorship. So super easy, super simple. Signing up for the program as well is very simple. So don't be afraid to do it. Make sure that, that you're ready for when the folks that are going to want to pay you are ready to pay. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. If anyone wants to follow you, where can they find you online?
I'm on GitHub, but on Twitter. So twitter.com/Jess JLLORD. Two L's.
JLLORD. And I'll
Yeah,
go ahead and pop that profile. Yeah,
I couldn't claim J-Lord with one L on Twitter, so it's got
some
two.
a shout out to whoever's got that. Jess is
I know.
coming for you. I kid. But thank you so much, Jess. Jessica Lord, she is a PM for GitHub sponsors, doing amazing work, making sure that we're growing and we're supporting all those amazing maintainers. Thank you so much, Jess. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, folks, don't forget to go ahead and go follow JLLORD on Twitter. Jess also writes the blog post when we do the big announcements about the new countries that are being included. So you'll be first to hear it if you go ahead and give her a follow. So go ahead and do that. And now I am going to bring up to the stage one of my favorite people in the world. Hello, Roselle.
One of them.
Hi. If you haven't met Roselle, I should have introduced you first with all the fanfare, but since I didn't, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, just giving a quick intro about yourself. That'll be great.
Yeah, hey everyone, I'm a developer advocate at GitHub. I used to be a software engineer before this, and I'm super passionate about getting maintainers paid as well.
Thank you. And you are joining us live from the Kansas City Developer Conference, right?
Yes, I am. That's why I got like a hotel in the background of me. But yeah, I'm at the Kansas City Developer Conference right now. It was really fun.
There you go. So shout out to the Kansas City. What's the hashtag? I can't say it as a tongue twister.
KCDC.
All right. So shout out to KCDC 22 or KCDC. Go on Twitter, give them a follow too. Great conference. Seen a lot of familiar faces, which is really cool. And so now we're gonna tell them how to get paid for open source and the things that they're doing. So that's amazing. So Rizal, you wrote an amazing article that we have since translated into multiple languages, teaching developers how to make their profiles stand out so that they get the recognition they deserve. And I think you're going to teach us a little bit about that today, right?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I am. Awesome.
Okay. The floor is yours.
Thank you. This is going to be super short and sweet, y'all. Some parts of it I may be reinforcing or repeating what Jessica already said, but I don't think that hurts. So let's talk about getting paid in open source. There's this misconception that open source work is completely free, and sometimes it is, but it doesn't have to be. I also used to think this way, and that was one of the barriers for me getting into open source, because I was like, I have a ton of responsibilities. I don't think I have the ability or the freedom to be able to code for free or to contribute for free. But it turns out that that's not always the case. You definitely deserve to be paid if you're an open source core contributor or an open source maintainer, because proprietary companies may be depending on maybe your NPM packages or your open source framework, and they're making profit off of it. Meanwhile, maintainers may just be getting burnt out. So instead of doing that, I think one thing that will be super helpful is going ahead and creating a sponsors page. And I really, really admire products and programs like GitHub Sponsors, Open Collective, and Tidelift that are investing in making sure open source maintainers and contributors get the money that they deserve. Like Jessica mentioned, GitHub Sponsors is now available in 68 regions, wherever it says new, like Egypt and Gambia and Kenya. We've now enabled it and made it you all who are living in those areas eligible to sign up for GitHub Sponsors. So if you want to sign up, you can go to github.com/sponsors/accounts, and you'll see like your eligible accounts, and you'll click join the waitlist. And I don't think it's a really long time for you to hear back. You'll also need to create a funding.yaml file. This is enabling other people who are looking to sponsor you to be able to click those links. So you can link them to your actual GitHub sponsors page on your repository. You can link them to any other external links you have, maybe Open Collective or some custom link that you also want to use to get paid. So the other day, the reason why I even made this blog post is the other day I was talking to Stripe, the director of developer relations there, and Stripe invests in a lot of open source projects. But the director of developer relations was like, developers really don't market themselves well. I guess they're a little bit nervous, and he was a little bit frustrated because he wanted maintainers to show their best selves. He was like, their projects are awesome, but people are not really feeling like sponsoring them because they don't know what they do, they don't know what their project is about, and he wishes they would like showcase themselves better. So I went ahead and created this page. So let's go ahead and this blog post. Let's go ahead and talk about how to make your sponsors page appealing. So the first thing I think you should do that would be really, really great, or the first tip is to introduce yourself. You can explain who you are, what your project is about, why people should invest in you, and you should not be afraid to let your personality shine. You don't have to be super corporate and stuffy. Here's a really good example of one from Monica Powell. She introduces herself by saying, "Hi, I'm Monica. I'm a software engineer who's passionate about open source, making open source more accessible and building community online and offline." She also talks about some other extra work that she does, like she does public speaking, she creates egghead tutorials, and she talks about things that she looks forward to, like Hacktoberfest, and she added a couple of like emojis and octocats to give it a little bit of life and personality. So you can use that as an example for creating your introduction for a GitHub sponsors profile. You also want to go ahead and feature your relevant work. It's good to let people know, like, what open source projects are you even working on? What have you been doing? What repositories are impacting the rest of our software engineering ecosystem? And here's an example. This is from Gregor. He's actually involved in so many open source projects and maintains a bunch of them. He maintains OctoKit, Probot, Knock, and OctoHerd, and all of these other ones. So when people go to his sponsors page, they can say, wow, look at what Gregor's doing. He's doing an awesome job maintaining OctoKit. Maybe I don't necessarily depend on that project, but I can see how he's impacting others who may be depending on that project. Now, you don't maybe, even if you don't have like this many projects and you just have one, it's still great to showcase it because you never know how it can inspire or encourage a potential sponsor. The next thing I want to talk about is if your open source project has a team and it's not just you, it's kind of nice to highlight the team members who brought the vision to life. It can bring a more human element to the project and inspire potential sponsors. Now they get to know who's working on the project in addition to you. They're like, oh, cool, that person's working on it, that person's working on it. I'm really loving how they're working together to create this project. Here's another example. This is from DJ Stripe, which is a project, an open source project, and they show that our core maintainers or contributors are Jerome, Alexander, and Arnav. Now you know that, hey, this is someone that's involved in FOSS and they're a fintech consultant. Here's someone that's a startup founder who's fanatical about Python and Django. Maybe your sponsor will be like, I can relate. I love that you're doing this work. And they'll be like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and sponsor this project. Also, I want to talk about sponsor tiers. This is where you define like how much you're looking to get paid. And maybe you're a little bit nervous to do this because it kind of feels weird to be like, hey, I want $10 a month. But this is actually really helpful to creating clarity for potential sponsors, because maybe they'll go to your sponsors page and they'll be like, I don't know how much I should pay this person. Should I pay them $5? Should I pay them $100? And maybe they'll get decision fatigue and end up not even contributing to your project. So it's really good to include sponsor tiers. And then in addition to the sponsor tiers, add a couple of descriptions. And you can use the description section for each sponsor tier to talk about what those funds will go to, or why that tier exists, or you can even use it to specify what the sponsor may gain if they give you money. So you can give a little bit of rewards. And here is an example of that. So on the right side here, we have a project that says, if you give me $5 a month, you'll receive a sponsor badge on your profile. But if you give me $50 a month, I will prioritize an issue that you have with my project, and I will make sure it gets fixed up for you. That kind of encourages people, and they'll be like, oh, I really want this issue fixed. I'm gonna give them $50 a month. And it's still good to also have this option to be able to pay a custom amount, because maybe they're not able to afford $5 a month or $10 a month, or maybe they want to give you even more than you listed. Maybe they want to give you $2,000. It's very cool to also have that custom section where you say, all right, here, you can choose a a one-time amount or a monthly amount of your choice. So give both options to potential sponsors, your sponsor tiers and then your custom tier. Also, it's nice to show your goals. People feel more invested in your project when they know what you're working towards. So you can actually show your monetary goals or the number of sponsors that you're hoping to make or hoping to get. And you showing your progress helps sponsors know how they can contribute to reaching your goal faster or helping you reach your goal faster. So here's an example. We got Babbel. Their project said they want $12,000 per month. And that's what they need to get 3 maintainers paid. And they're showing like, I have 14% so far for the month. So maybe if I'm a sponsor, I'm like, ooh, let me help them get to 100% or 80%. So I'll give them a certain amount of money. Then we have Greg Burge. I hope I'm saying their name right. They said, I want to have 50 sponsors, not just per month or whatever, just overall. I want to get 50 sponsors. And for them, it's an achievement, a personal achievement for their open source career. And that's nice and heartwarming. So maybe you'll be like, you know what? I want to be sponsor number 15. And you'll add yourself in there as a sponsor. And then that's essentially it for creating a really good, or the components of creating a really good sponsors page from what I've researched. But don't forget to thank your sponsors as well. I think showing gratitude can help them keep coming back and telling other people about your project and telling them to maybe contribute or sponsor your project as well. Whenever you tell people thank you, it makes them feel good and it makes them want to invest in you more. Ways that you can tell them thank you can do it in a tweet. You can do it in a blog post. You can do it in a release announcement. Maybe you're at version 1.0 or 1.2, and you can be like, you know what? Thanks to Jessica for making version 1.2 possible. You can highlight them on your README or on your website, or you can maybe send them some swag if you can afford it, like if you have that money. If you're not at that spot, don't worry. Or you can also invite them on a live stream. Maybe you live stream yourself building your project. You can invite them on and be like, hey, talk about your own project and how you've been using my project to elevate my your project. Getting confused with the pronouns or who I'm talking about here. Sorry about that. And then last but not least, I do want to say this is part of authentic marketing, and you can continue to do more to attract sponsors to your page. I know marketing as a developer sounds scary and cringy, but what's cringy is the bad marketing and the inauthentic marketing where you're trying to force people to get your project. Authentic marketing can just be by learning in public and sharing the challenges and wins you've experienced while building your project. You can do that simply on Twitter, or you can go to a conference and talk about your project or a meetup, or even on your personal blog. People love to read about your journey and what you're building and how you're building it. And that can help to attract them even more and say, you know what, I've seen Andrea working really hard on this project. I want to go ahead and sponsor them. And that's all I have for this. I want to thank y'all for listening, and I want y'all to enjoy getting paid. And this QR code right here is a link to the blog post if you want to see a few more details on like how to get paid in open source and how to create your sponsorship page.
Thank you so much, Rizal. That was awesome. I'm pro. Is it a chicken, a bear? I don't know what it is, but he's making it rain for maintainers. So I'm here for that. I am 100% here for that. Thank you so much, Rizal. I appreciate you sharing the tips. I know what you mentioned about marketing. Yeah, I'm there with you. Like it never sounds nice when you're feeling like you're, doing like some advertising on yourself. But guess what though? All of you deserve that. So don't be afraid. Sometimes we gotta just go for it and ask for what we want. Thank you so much. We're getting some really nice feedback from the folks in the audience. We appreciate you. Don't forget to give Black Girl Bites a follow on Twitter. If you didn't scan the QR code, Riz, maybe you can share in the chat the actual link to the blog post so folks can just go in there and check it out. Make sure you subscribe to her Dev2 account because she puts out some incredible knowledge, which is, you don't want to miss that. And yeah, thank you so much. You already added it. Perfect. So I appreciate you being here, Riz. Thank you. I was hoping that, and Jessica, can I bring you back for a second? You can nod if it's okay. It's like, no, I'm done. But thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
So what do you think, Jessica? Now, having watched this presentation, I know you read the blog post, obviously.
Oh, it was perfect. You nailed everything. Yes.
Thank you.
That's there you go. Listen, get your recognition to result. You work hard on that. So thank you so much. So if you have questions about how to set up your profile, definitely go ahead and check out those links. If you have questions about whether or not what you're doing, you should get paid for, the answer is yes, you should get paid for it. So go ahead and apply for sponsors. Do it now. And then if you are already in the program, if you've been a part of the program for a little while and you've been using it and you have feedback, we love feedback, don't we? We want to know how we can make this the absolute best program for you and really propel your, whether it's full-time, part-time, whatever you want to do, make sure that you get paid. So I appreciate you. That is the sponsors feedback link. That is github.co. It's a bit.ly, so that's what it is. And that will take you directly to the discussions where you can drop some feedback. I know there are some questions about availability on the chat, and I will actually drop a link as well where it shows all the countries that are currently supported. Keep in mind that this list is not ever, it's going to grow. There's going to be more countries being added. You will have the possibility to participate. And then something that I just recently learned, if you are in a country that is not supported, but you have an open collective account as an organization, you can apply for a fiscal sponsorship. And then that is a way to go ahead and set your profile for GitHub sponsors like that. And I wanted to bring this up because that was part of the reason I was so excited to have OSCA here today and Bolaji from OSCAfrica, because they are actually now in GitHub sponsors, and you can sponsor the Open Source Community Africa. In case that maybe you're joining, you're not sure what the Open Source Community Africa is. They are a community of creatives just driving the open source movement in Africa. They're doing incredible work. One of the biggest conferences in the continent they put on, and there's chapters everywhere. So definitely go ahead and give them a follow. And if you are able to, go ahead and give them a sponsor too. What you were talking about earlier, Rizal, about being like the first people to sponsor somebody. I didn't know, but I just did it. So now some of you folks get to go in and be the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh. So yeah, for sure, go ahead and get in and support these folks because they're definitely doing amazing work. So that is the link for feedback currently on the screen. And this is the link to go ahead and reach OSCAfrica profile page on GitHub, and you'll be able to sponsor them there. Whether or not, there is something that it's not going to be a dependencies library, but it's going to be, this is a movement. And if you have an opportunity to support growth of open source in Africa, we should all just give them the support. Super sad I wasn't able to get Bolaji on time, and the internet's so bad that we couldn't even get his video uploaded. But what I will do is post-event, I'm going to go ahead and edit it right into here. So when you come back into YouTube, you'll be able to see it. He's going to give us an overview of the open source community Africa, the current state of open source in Africa. And then the great news, of course, that you can go into this very URL and go ahead and start sponsoring them. So thank you so much to everyone who joined. It's been amazing to see you. I hope you take these learnings to heart. Any parting words, Rizal?
Sign up right now.
I like that. That's it. Don't start thinking. I had someone message me, you think this is enough to ask for sponsorship? I'm like, yes, of course. Yes. Your work is valuable. Yes, please.
There it is.
Jessica, any parting words for our awesome audience? Thank you for spending time with us.
Same message. Sign up for sponsors and get on the wait list if we're not there yet, and you'll be the first off of the wait list when we roll out.
Absolutely. So even if you're not in a supported country, make sure you just click on it and request it, because then you'll have an awesome surprise like the folks did 2 weeks ago when they came through a waitlist, just like that. Thank you so much for joining. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Don't forget to follow us, GitHub Africa and Meetup. We have a ton of events. This Saturday, we're going to keep talking about getting paid. So I love that. We're going to keep talking. We're going to have Ruth, who's one of our GitHub stars. And we're going to have a couple of actually folks that are now in the program from some of these new regions, and they're going to share their experience setting up and also telling us, giving us some tips about how we can make our profiles better, etc. So go check out the blog post, follow these amazing humans on social. Thank you for being here, and we'll